What's good, YouTube? It's Mirror Boy Squiddy back in another video. Let's talk about Purrely's. So they hit our deck kind of about out of nowhere. Like they hit Delicious Memory, which is essentially the best memory in the entire deck because this allows us to go into Plump, which allows us to make itself juicy with 4 materials and then easily go into a Nor with any other quick play spell card in our hand because that would be able to be attached to Plump as a 5th material. However, it kind of hurts now because we can't even search Delicious Memory as a guarantee off of My Friend Purely anymore because now it's at 1. So we have a 33% chance of hitting it. So there are a couple of ways to address this. Like, I see a lot of people are talking about Foolish Burial Goods. And yeah, I mean, that technically, okay, in effect, you would essentially Foolish a copy of Delicious Memory, and then you have the Lily to attach into a Plump really easily. Now, the reason I hate this is because I just feel like it's a hard -1. This deck has enough struggles as it is by going -1 on all of its interactions with all of the quick play spell cards. And if you're like me and you've actually played this deck against hand traps and you know it actually hurts when you get impermed, when you get veilered, when you get mournered, and on top of that you discarded cards, so you're down a card. Now think about adding Foolish Burial Goods to the mix and then dumping a copy of Delicious Memory. You're going -1. You're assuming that your Purrely will 100% resolve, which is not the case. Everyone's holding their Imperm, Veiler, so on and so forth for the Purrely, so you cannot do that. Previously, in the previous format, I would prefer actually using the regular Purrely to go into Delicious Memory in hand, so they don't really have a way to interact with it. Like, they'd be forced to either guess in Veiler or Imperm and kind of put them in an awkward board state where I could then follow up with Purrely. So, I just don't like that. It makes the assumption that you're going to be able to resolve the Purrely, which is just not the case. And when you do not resolve the Purrely, guess what? You lost a copy of a card in your hand and you foolished a copy of Delicious Memory. So you're just like, wow, I'm down a card and I'm down cards on top of whatever I discarded for the quick play spells. That's why I hate this card. I'll be honest with you guys, but I want to put it in here just so you have this option and maybe prove me wrong if you decide to play this card, because there are other cards that you can actually send off of Foolish Burial Goods like Metal Foes Fusion, which makes it a little more redeeming than it already is. And on top of all of that, you can actually send you can send the Metal Foes Fusion if you draw it as a discard, so then you can just put it back and draw a card as an Upstart Goblin, so it replenishes a lot like Shaddoll Beast. Obviously, it's a lot worse than a Droll, but like I imagine most people are cutting Droll and Logbird from their main decks, at least for the beginning of the format, now that Super Heavy Samurai are not as threatening as they previously were. So it's kind of nice that you can pair it with Foolish Burial Goods to get an Upstart Goblin effect, and then potentially have the Delicious Memory, which I hate this play, but I'll give it to you. You potentially have that in tandem with Metal Foes Fusion. But I'll be honest, as much as this deck gains advantage off of the XYZs, you lose a lot of advantage off discarding. You lose a lot of advantage inherently through its engine. So I do not think Foolish Burial Goods is a good card, nor should it be the standard for playing this deck going forward. I'm sorry, guys. The other thing that you could also supplement it with is 3 Purrely Leap, because this helps you make the Purrely X Noir into the hard way by flipping Leap, and then you're going to have the X Purrely Noir. Now, the issue I have with this card is it's just not good when you don't have Plump, and because Plump access is the main problem of the deck moving forward, I don't think this solves it at all. Like, again, Plump is one of the only, well, currently the only way to get Sleepy Memory attached until Duelist Nexus is released and we get Purrely Noir as the new card Duelist Nexus. So until that happens, there's no easy way to get Sleepy Memory on any of these other XYZs besides Plump's effect. So if we're making any of these other non-Plump XYZs like Beauty or even Happiness and setting a trap, is that any good? Because we're just going into X Purrely Noir with the trap, which gives it 3 materials, right? Like the spell card, the Purrely, the Happiness. And then it's only basically one spin back off of one trap, which does nothing, in my opinion. It's not good enough. It's one interruption. Your X Purrely Noir does not have 5 or more materials, so it's affected by everything. It's essentially just like a Trident in that case. And I just don't think it justifies playing 3 bricks, in my opinion. So unless we can solve that issue going first, I actually think the deck is actually better going second, because it allows you to play a lot more cards. It allows you to get an extra card as a draw on your turn to discard. It allows you to go into Zeus as a line, integrate it into your deck immediately, whereas going first, you're not able to make Zeus, right? So going second, having that Zeus line threatens them anytime you have a body or even 2 level 1s on the board, they're going to be threatened because you're going to have to remove a body before you make something like either a Fuko or just going into Lyrilusc into a Fat Zeus. So that's just another line that it adds on top of it. And going second, I think, is a little bit more forgiving in this format because we don't really have anything that's really oppressive like Super Heavy Samurai previously was. There are a lot of ways to stop things. I've kind of like lowered the hand trap count, in fact, because I think it might be more of a control metagame now that Cashier a little bit more watered down. This deck had a decent matchup going second against Cashier because you could make Zeus, you could make Beauty really easily to negate the Arise Heart. You can threaten the Arise Heart with 2 level 1s on board because you could just make Fuko. And now if you get rid of the Arise Heart, they're not going to be able to recur that Arise Heart besides something crazy like the Cashier Preparation Trap. So it's really easy to get over their board with like a Zeus and then just control the board from there going second, in my opinion. And I was thinking the discard engine in the Rainbow Bridge Salvation might actually be decent because if people are playing Sky Strikers, then that targets. And like this field spell becomes insanely good because your opponent cannot target any of your Purrelys with Widow Anchors or anything for that matter. If we're, bringing out the special summon level 1s or even the XYZ. So it's very, very nice. It allows you to add an engine piece and it gives you a +1 because you're able to banish it and the discard becomes free. So that's just something you guys can play around with. You can see here in the non-engine as well, I'm thinking about Cosmic Cyclone and Harpy's Feather Duster. I have a feeling a lot of people will be playing Sky Striker. A lot of people might even be playing Labyrinth as well, so dealing with skill drain. Even dealing with Cashier Birth or like a set Imperm is always really, really good. The only fallacy with this deck is if Sky Striker chooses to go second, like they traditionally did, then this deck becomes a lot worse because you're aiming to go second, but they're going to make you go first. So we're not playing the trap in the go second build, obviously. We're missing a lot of key components to make our plays super, super powerful. Obviously, not being guaranteed. Our Purrely Noir against Sky Striker is really, really bad because they can just start targeting our cards. They can start whittling down our resources. But the nice thing is we still have a lot of built-in cards like My Friend Purrely, so we can kind of protect against the removal. We can add back cards. We can grind. So this is just an idea I had. If you guys have any other thoughts about the Purrely deck, I definitely don't think it's dead. I think it's still very, very powerful. It's going to be even better with the new Duelist Nexus that's coming out in about a month and a half time. So until then, I think playing this deck a lot more as a resource-based engine, going second to make Zeus as our main monster instead of Purrely Noir is just a lot better for now. And then once we get the new cards, it'll be a lot more easier to make Purrely Noir because we're going to be able to set the trap directly from our deck. And we're going to be able to go into an XYZ monster intrinsically with Sleepy Memory, which allows us to draw a card and then use the trap to draw another card. So we're previously back to normal before this got limited. But yeah, that's about all I had for the video. If you guys have any thoughts, definitely let me know. And we will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.